We are now live. Hey everyone, your favorite Draconic here, and today with you is your favorite unicorn, Silver.
Hello.
And his computer's not working, well, I don't think it would handle it, but maybe it would handle this game, because I had a shitty computer when I played this game. But today, we're playing back again with Onigiri, and he's going to be commentating on this one this time, and he's going to be seeing the practical and non-practical uses of these weapons, which is going to be interesting in my opinion, considering there's so many unpractical ones. He's also going to be seeing all the crazy monsters.
I already see one unpractical weapon.
Yep. Well, to be fair, there is a historical use for big swords back in the
Well,
era.
My only complaint is why would you only have it one edge?
Oh, because there was a weapon back in those era. There was a sword known as a horse cleaver. Not many people. There's not any pictures. There's no pictures about them, but there was a lot of depictions about them. And because like if you look it up, you'll just find like an actual ass cleaver. But there's an actual weapon known as a horse cleaver that was like its namesake would cut horses in half, and the riders. And essentially, people were sent up forward with a big ass, like unpractical sword, stab it into the ground, and having one edge to protect themselves and hold, and then the other edge was to cut the horse in half, along with the rider.
I see.
Yeah, that's very, that one's very impractical. Hold on. This thing is...
I do like the color scheme though.
Yeah. Look at this.
What the fuck is that? That's not even an axe. That's just like a hammer with spikes on it. What the hell is that?
Look at the edge.
You can't even use that for slashing. That is like strictly a stabbing weapon.
He's so slow with it too. But damn if it ain't funny. This one's actually pretty good.
Okay, and come on. The back. Okay. Now that's like I'd say that's
a nice katana.
Yeah.
It's a nice
might be
threaded hilt blade to it. I like it.
Mm-hmm. That might be more of a nodachi, but it's still a good sword.
Now, this is supposed to be a spear. What kind of spear is this? That's a really glorified ass spear.
Okay, so my one complaint is, do you see the flare on the spear?
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna stab you. Like if you stab someone with that and they push back against you, you're gonna get stabbed by the other end of the spear. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen designs like that before. They're called cross spears.
Yeah.
Like there's the one in Dark Souls is a good example.
Yeah.
But I mean, it looks cool. It looks badass.
It does, but it's just so impractical.
I mean, like there have been spears that are that longer in fact. But like, it's just the size of the tip of the spear would make that thing extremely top heavy, and it's not what you want with a spear.
Okay, here's some more weapons. I switched out my loadout. Here is supposed to be like,
Alright.
Yeah, this one's supposed to be like a wand or something. It's not even supposed to be a dagger, but it actually looks like a cool dagger.
Look, that actually, that's aside from the cross guard pretty much being non-existent, that would be a good dagger.
Yeah. Its main purpose in this game is actually really weird. It is really a fucking
It does seem like a very unique weapon.
Oh yeah. Now we got Excalibur, the game's variation of Excalibur.
Now that is a traditional claymore.
Oh yeah, for
but
sure. It's a little long.
That is
It's long.
Well, they're designed to be very long because
Yeah.
you know what's funny about those? And those actually weren't that heavy. They were only about I'd say about 9 pounds.
Yeah. You know what makes this funny though? Traditionally, Japanese people
What's that?
were really short, and when they saw like people who were really tall with big weapons, and when they held them, they look really big in comparison. So this is a standard claymore, actually, or a standard weapon, but this guy's just really short.
A standard longsword.
Yeah. And this is the
That's
tallest
hilarious.
variation of a Japanese person, too. Because, like, if I stand my character next to other characters, which, if you can look, I'm slightly taller than this bloke by a little bit. But what makes this interesting is he's actually taller. He's actually taller, and I think it's not just because of his shoes, but also because of his actual height. And I'm like, and this is the tallest you can make your character.
Wow.
And most male characters are always going to be taller than all the females because in Japanese culture, most category, most of them will be shorter than any other male, which is weird.
Now, is this game? Well, I suppose that Japanese culture, it wasn't their main priority, but they did have shields, but they weren't as prominent as like European shields.
Yeah.
Are there any shields in this game?
Maybe. I've seen people wield them. Yeah, but like I've never seen people use them that much. It's like an uncommon item in this game. Here's the next weapon. It's supposed to be a giant mallet. What the hell?
If the handle wasn't curved, it would be a great weapon. But the fact that handle's curved is going to make that thing a lot harder to hold on to.
Oh yeah.
Is that thing rocket powered or something? Looks like it has something going on in the back.
Oh, it's that's just some blades on the back.
Oh, it kind of looks like a rocket for a second.
And it looks like it's made out of rock, a bunch of like heavy volcanic rock and some.
Looks like it's made out of a dragon's tooth.
Yeah, it looks like it. And
It's like
contrary to belief, bones are really light.
Oh yeah. Have you ever played Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
I played Monster Hunter World, and there's a lot of bone weapons in there because they're light.
Yeah. Here's a long. This one's a Tachi. A Windachi.
Yeah, an Odachi. Oh, there we go.
Yeah. There's your Odachi. That's what they look like in this game. They actually have a pretty nice sheen, and they actually look nice in this game.
Yeah. It's funny when you look at it from the back; it looks much longer.
I think it looks longer here, but it's like short.
It's pretty long. Don't get me wrong, but.
Oh yeah.
Oh, do you want to hear interesting? Facts? You wanna? Oh goodness.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear the largest sword ever used?
What's that?
It 7 feet tall.
Damn.
Yeah. It only weighed like 14 pounds. It was, I would say it was around the size of the sword you're carrying now. If that character was the average height of a European male.
Yeah. The Excalibur.
Yeah.
Alright, here's the 2 other weapons I have. This is Sunlight Talisman. This is supposed to be like a traditional.
It looks like a.
Looks
like a mace.
Well, it's not a mace. It's supposed to be like a traditional Japanese thing used for what was it? People who hunted, like demon hunters. People who hunted.
Oh, like a crucifix?
Yeah. Yes. Not a crucifix, but it's like a.
Well, yeah. Well, because crucifix is a European type of thing, but like.
Yeah, this is supposed to be like a holy item for the Japanese thing.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to take all the bad energy out of people. This thing is fucking evil sounding too. Cause look, I can hold this, and it doesn't heal you. But then if I do this, there's a fucking pillar right there. What the hell? Also fireball. Every D&D's wizard's wet dream is fireball.
I said I don't care how big the room is. I cast fireball.
Fireball! Fireball. I love this weapon. It's fun.
Fireball.
Just a fireball. And this is the first weapon you get in the game. Look at that.
Oh, okay. It's like a.
Look.
Okay, another thing, like, really? You couldn't take the time to make a cross guard? Like, that's my only complaint. The weapon looks really good, but, like, really? No cross guard?
Well, to be fair, this weapon you get in the game, it's the beginning weapon, and it's known as the Uni Dagger, and it was wielded by an Uni. Like, you know what an Uni is, right?
It's a Japanese demon, I believe.
Correct, and it's supposed to be more human, just like the rest of us, but they have horns.
Yeah. I remember there was an anime I saw once that represented Oni.
Yeah.
What was it called? Oh, it was the anime was that time I got reincarnated as a slime.
Yeah. Like I said, they look just like normal people. It's just that or like they have like a different skin variation or hair variation.
Yeah.
But most of the time, they are just people with horns. And it's kind of cool. So in this game, there's an actual clan known as the Uni clan, or the Uni clan, and it's mostly assembled of people with horns. And it's interesting because you can go back there every time in this game and check it out.
Really?
Yeah. Also,
that's cool.
There's a lot of interesting things in this game. I like this game for.
I can see that. It takes a lot of inspiration.
Oh yeah. Back to my sunrise weapons, because surprisingly, despite how stupid they look, they are pretty overpowered.
What was I gonna say before? Oh, I forgot.
Do you know what a back? Oh, I'm so sorry, everyone.
Oh, I remember now. Okay. You have played For Honor before, right?
Yes.
Well, they just added the new character. Ooh. And you know what's funny about this new character? They have a gun. Yeah. And, like, there's been a joke, like, flying around For Honor that's like, that joke, like, parry this, you fucking casual.
I like the music in this game. It's kind of funny because it's its own thing.
It sounds really upbeat and cheery for the colors of this game seem very
dark.
Dark.
Yeah, it is. This game is very dark.
Oh, you have a party?
This guy right here next to me is actually an NPC that I carry with me. You can actually spot other players fighting things.
What the heck? It looks like she just kicked him in the dick and he fell over. What the hell was that?
I think she did. Oh, hey, look at that.
Oh. What is that? This game kind of reminds me of Breath of the Wild. Whoa!
Don't you get me with your fire breath, fuck you!
Oh, yes, I know what game this reminds me of. This reminds me of, what is that old PlayStation game?
What?
Dynasty Warriors. That's what it was.
Ah, Dynasty Warriors.
This game reminds me of kind of like a beat 'em up hack and slash type of thing. I am sorry, but you are very quiet compared to your game.
I know, I figured as much. I hope that's better.
Try turning. Okay, that's a little bit better for me.
Yeah, hopefully.
Am I quieter now?
No, not really. I just had to move away so we could stop hearing all the sounds of me slashing and hacking.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
This damn thing is funny as hell.
That is true.
It looks so impractical.
It does.
But it's so overpowered.
I can see that.
That guy didn't even fall over or bother. He's like,
No,
fuck
he just noped the fuck right out of it. Did you level up?
Yeah. Oh, that guy actually played along. He was like, I'm dead. That's good. There's a lot of impractical weapons. Actually, one of my favorite weapons in this game was an impractical, giant, flaming, great-looking sword weapon, and it was fucking hilarious.
The guy's taking after the wizard.
箸とか皿とか使えってうるせえんだよ。なくたって飯は食えるだろうな。
He was like, Fireball! Fireball's gonna save me.
Fire.
そこです。これで決めます。
but in reality, it's pretty cool. And do you know what a yokai is?
That is another type of demon, I believe.
Yokai are objects, people, and individuals who were forgotten or mistreated when they were alive. So, in response to that, they turned into evil creatures in response when they're dead.
Yeah. Pretty much like a wraith, I suppose, like a vengeful spirit.
Yeah, and that's what everything here is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all yokai. Your character is essentially a demon hunter, fighting the evil spirits and avenging everyone. So yeah.
This game is kind of like Demon Slayer.
I'm trying to get baby fly wings, lucky drama fragment, and then red scales, which are gonna be kind of hard considering I don't know where to find a red dragon
こないだ猫女と狐に酒飲まさ
or
れたけ
flies
ど
are gonna be easy.
あれのどこがうまいんだこの後のこと全然覚えてねえしよ
Dude, you all
Wow.
wow. I just stabbed his dick.
おしまいです
Guys. Real life canon,
I just want you to know that this doesn't excuse you for trying to call me small when we play Legends of Equestria. I'm not small.
but you is best small to be.
蝶々さんだなんか元気ねえなおい
The hell, I was trying to have.
Alright.
There we go.
Goodness.
You good?
Alright. Yep, I'm just moving to a different room real quick.
Alright.
My brother wants to...
これで決めます
Yeah, you're,
Yeah, that was
so far, it's looking pretty cool.
I know, I like this game. You can explore anywhere you want at any time. You just have to walk there if you want. But if you do, in response, there's a crystal in every one of these towns. So, if you did
こない
that,
だ猫女と狐に酒飲まされたけどあれのどこがうまいんだその後のこと
oh yeah, they
全
say
然
some
覚えて
funny
ねえ
shit,
しよ
when you walk with them. Like, every person has something funny to say.
Sounds like it.
Damn, I'm getting
これで決めます
Yeah,
Okay, I got the fly wings. I just need a Rama fragment and something else. Some red scales. I know where the red scales are. I just need a little red dragon dude. Give me the red dragon. Where's the thing over here?
but yeah, I would try. If I had my computer with me. I didn't bring it with me when I came to visit my parents, but I would try to play something. But
Yeah. You should definitely. What the hell?
shit.
You alright?
Yeah, I'm playing billiards right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
not yet.
this is how you upgrade your stats. You go to your status, and then you can upgrade your stats in the game.
Okay.
And every time you get more stats points, it costs more the higher you upgrade your stats to keep it even.
Makes sense.
Everybody has their own specific build in this game. Same with me.
But yeah, I've never played a Japanese RPG game. I mean, this one seems interesting, but
yeah, it is.
Let's see if I can do this one. But there's some RPGs I played over the years.
This is what my stats look like.
I don't know if Dynasty Warriors counts as an RPG. I don't think it does.
It's more of a hack and slash.
Those type of games, yeah. There are different characters for you to choose from, but
you can even make your own.
not the one I played in. You couldn't make your own. Sadly.
I played a Dynasty Warriors I think it was one of the slightly not so old but not so new one, and you could create your own character.
It does make sense. Oh, crap.
I made myself so overpowered in that game, it was funny.
I've already told you my favorite RPG game, or RPG series, but I'm kind of a glutton for punishment, so...
For me? Ooh, that's a tough one. RPG. I do like shooter games, not all the time, but there's some games that are really good, and Mass Effect series is really good.
Well, there are some games that I like. The only thing I don't like about shooters is it's the only thing that they are. It's just a shooter. It doesn't do anything else.
Those kind of games. Yeah, that sucks.
Like Call of Duty, not my thing.
Yeah, I agree. That's no thank you. I like
games like Borderlands. I love
Halo.
the Borderlands series.
Or Halo. Halo's a good one.
I didn't really play Halo. I didn't really have access to an Xbox.
Well, Halo was also on PC, you silly. It came from PC.
Well, I've never owned a PC.
That's also true.
I've always wanted one, but never had the chance to buy one.
Yeah.
But I have played Halo before, but it was never my game, you know?
Yeah. I get it.
It was a friend's game.
If you really want to enjoy a nice Halo playthrough, check out my Infinite playthrough. I played through that thing real quick. Sad part is, episode 1 through 7 of Halo, all of its game audio is off for some reason.
Is it?
Yeah, I have no clue how to fix that, so that's just a given. Even in the description of the thing.
Are you using Alexa?
Even in the description of the even in the description of the series and episodes, it says episode 1 through 7 in-game audio is off.
Why did you shave your beard?
Really? I had to. But anyway, yeah, that game does seem pretty fun as far as I can tell.
Yeah. You can also customize your character to any way you want as well.
Oh, okay.
There's an actual...
The one game I'm really excited about getting pretty soon is Elden Ring.
What makes this game really fun is that it's free, and you can play it.
Oh, it's free?
Yeah, it's free.
That's cool.
It's also cross-platform, so I don't know if it's on phone, but I assume it's on PlayStation, Xbox, and
Yeah.
and computer.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Well, what was I gonna say? Forgot what I was gonna say. Again, that always happens to me.
I don't know why, but it sounds like you guys are playing pool.
It is. We are playing pool. Like my brother, we had an unfinished match, so we're just finishing up.
Ah, cool.
But no.
I didn't do that.
Yes, you did. I saw you. But no, it did not. I saw you. You can't trick me, you bitch.
Alright, so it's gonna go.
But I have always enjoyed RPGs. They're just there's.
You have to
I
go
know.
to my Bronys thing.
Okay. I hate when I come home. But yeah, just but those weapons are pretty impractical.
Unless you just go for the standard bow, sword, and stuff like that.
Yeah, like the swords are fine. Like the spear. The spear's not fine. That's like the one I have the biggest problem with right now.
Well,
But
okay, I'll show you how to get what you call it, how to study the weapons and how to get new ones. Have to deal with this bitch. Go away. Well, I got a red scale. A diorama. Okay. Got some weapons to know and learn about. Now I go back to the city, and I'll be able to appraise them, essentially. Just go kill things on the wall and play. You still there?
yep, my brother was just talking to me about something.
Okay.
Okay, I'm back now. I'm not playing the pool anymore. But yeah, those weapons are definitely interesting.
Yeah. I'll show you how to
But like,
appraise new
then
ones.
again,
To be fair, these
Yeah.
are only a few that I have. There's over millions and millions and millions of weapons that you
Yeah.
can get.
and I just want, if people are listening, I just want them to know that this is not coming from a, oh, I hate this game standpoint. This is coming from a purely practical standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, if you were to wield these weapons in real life, you probably wouldn't be able to lift half of them.
Yeah. I'm a strong dude that can pick up really heavy shit. So, like, I've actually recreated a weapon, and even I could pick up about 400, 500 pounds, and I can't pick up that big ass sword. Oh shit! Operation time now.
But they are interesting. Like, and like I do love fantasy.
依頼も給仕も新しくなった MK6 たちにお任せください。
I just gotta point out these things when I see them. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm the builder of the group.
He is. And not to be confused with the individual known as Silver Quill, this man right here is known as Silver Lyrics.
Yes, I am not that famous reviewer.
Yeah. That's
I have never reviewed, well, except for like now, of course. I've never reviewed anything in my life.
Due to in-game issues, we are going to start the game back up in just a sec.
Alright.
サイバーステップ
And, now,
おにぎり
it's an
妖怪怪
RPG
人
game
執
that
筆
had
の
actually.
この紫式部にお任せなのです
Here we go. Let me go.
Oh, Final Fantasy, I guess, is one of, Cloud's sword.
Yeah, Cloud's,
And, the,
Cloud's sword, in all honesty, I could figure out a way to, pick it up myself.
if I'm being honest, it looks like a giant box cutter.
It does.
Yeah. It's cool. Like, the sword is, like, it's badass. Like, damn. But, it's like Guts. Do you know who Guts is?
Yeah.
Like, the physical description of his sword is far beyond anything that anybody could ever wield.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't look cool. Let me think.
Okay, so there's a weapon appraisal in this game. So if you find a weapon that has like question marks on it, that means you haven't seen it before. And in turn means that you can go to Lady Shizuka over here. The girl with the pink hair.
どうしました
And identify
任せ
the
てください
weapons.
これを鑑定すればいいこれを鑑定すればいいこれを鑑定すればいいんですね
Let's
Okay.
identify 6 weapons. Now that looks like a spear, a bamboo spear.
It looks like a traditional spear.
Yeah. Komuro Dachi. It's an only Dachi, it looks like.
I'm not gonna say it again, but I think you know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, need a handle.
No, a cross guard.
Oh, yeah.
Because like the reason for that existing is to protect your hands. So you don't want your hand sliding up the blade. You don't want your opponent's blade hitting sliding down
任せ
from
て
your
くだ
hand.
さい
Yeah.
何かあったら声をかけてください
Oh, look, now you get to see the female variation of a player. Everybody's different, though. Oh god, look at that. They really with two-handed blades. Look at their swords.
Sorry, someone else was talking. Yeah, I did. Okay, now that's less practical.
Yes. They're wielding two of them.
Hey, I gotta get off real quick. I have a call that I need to take real quick.
Sorry.
I will be right back.
Alright. Well, everyone, while he's gone, let's go ahead and get some stuff done. Everyone.
と
Alright,
I do apologize. I thought that
You thought it was important?
we were going to talk to you about your car. It's warranty time.
Oh.
Did not work.
What?
Yes. Trying to see if I can hear you.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear you. Like you weren't coming through.
Oh, I wasn't talking for a second.
Oh.
Yeah.
But these weapons are very interesting. I mean, that sword I saw a minute ago.
Yeah, that one.
I would say that would be more of a slashing weapon.
Yeah.
Because if you stab someone with that, it's going to be real hard to get it back out.
Yeah, look at that.
I mean, that would actually be a pretty decent spearhead. But
Yeah.
on a sword? Because the whole point of a sword is to slash and stab.
Yeah.
If you only have a certain area on the sword where that's possible, it's not a very good weapon.
Well, we got some more weapons to read.
調子はどうだい？千客万来だ。
Okay.
There's this one, your traditional looking nice sword right here. It's a little small to see it. I'll probably just buy everything here because I got a lot of money.
Makes sense.
I'm making sure not to buy the same ones unless I'm trying to.
Yeah, I saw this meme that was hilarious. It was like it was a text prompt, and it was like basically saying that this wizard found a new way to be a wizard, and he basically said, "What? It was a wizard who switched to being a sorcerer in like D&D terms." And like he said, dude, this shit is so easy. Like whenever we start our duel as wizards, I just pull down my book, run over, stab the dude 30 times, and I win every single time.
He's a rogue that pretends to be a wizard.
He's an arcane trickster.
That's funny. It's like I pull out my book and just run over to him and stab him. It's like, excuse me, sir. Do you know the point of wizardry?
You don't? Well, let me show you.
Stab, 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 stab. Like, that's how he works. Let's see here. I'll equip the new ones I just got. Which,
But, I should have a few, what were they? Oh, I had a few, funny stories about, me playing video games. There was this one, I was playing For Honor, and I saw a friend of mine was online, so I invited him to play a game. And he texted me saying that I'm playing with this guy that is hilarious. He is so angry right now. And I said, go ahead and invite me to that game. I'll see what I can do. And when I got to this game, this guy was he was, I am assuming that he was African American because the amount of times he was using the N-word were indescribable.
Oh no!
And,
some people are just trying to be racist.
Well, I think the guy that was my friend that I played with, I knew he was African American. I knew he was because he had told me.
Yeah.
Like he actually knew this person, and
Okay.
I don't know if they were friends or anything like that, but apparently he was okay with him saying that word.
It was. Well, it's Spanish for the word black.
Yeah. And,
It's just a person just yelling black, 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 black.
yeah.
In Spanish. It's so funny.
Anyway.
I find it so hilarious when people say that word just as an insult, and I'm like, do you realize that's just a color you're saying, right? You dumb.
Yeah. But anyway, I started playing, and I was just kicking the shit out of this guy. Like, do you remember the character Raider?
Yes.
The one that had like the stunning tap? Do you know that got taken away? He can no longer stun you, and this was right before that got taken away. And he loved to play Raider, and he just loved that stunning tap. Like, he would just spam the shit out of it. And I eventually caught on and just kept light parrying him. And he got really, really mad. And I was playing Warden at the time, and back then Warden was overpowered. And I kept guard breaking and heavying him and light parrying him. And like towards the end of the play session, he was like, dudes, if we band together, we could rule the fucking world. And I'm like, what? Like, are you kidding me? You suck. And he's like, no, I don't. You suck. I'm like, I literally spent 2 hours kicking your ass at this game, and you think I suck. It was. This dude could not accept defeat, apparently. Some people like that exist. It's a sad thing to hear, but they do.
Like, I'm a person who doesn't accept defeat, but I'm not crazy cheesy about it. I just like to go ahead and fight the person over and over until I win. And I'll be like, yeah, I won. After a ton of losses.
I'm the same way. I'm very stubborn. But like, I don't normally get angry. Like, and what's funny is I don't ever really get angry at other people. I get angry at computers. Like Dark Souls, for instance. I never get angry at other players. I get angry at the bosses or other enemies. And it's just like,
blame the computer.
like I know I should be better than them. Yeah. And I'm always a firm believer in like, it's Dark Souls. If you died, it's because you messed up.
Yeah.
So, but sometimes I didn't believe that. Like sometimes I know that couldn't have been my fault. What the fuck was that? But especially when I got to Blighttown the first time.
Oh god.
Like I hated that place, especially those toxin spewing shithead that like blow darts at you. That was an interesting first game. What else did I do in For Honor? It's pretty fun.
全てを滅散癒しの光を
Oh, there's this character in For Honor. His name is Lawbringer.
Yeah.
And he's big beefy dude. Like he has like a ton of HP and he does pretty decent damage. And a friend of mine, we were playing together. We were playing custom matches just against some of our other friends. And I said, let's show them the law. We both chose Lawbringer, and we just laid them out. It was funny because Lawbringer's not the best character by far, but like he's definitely pretty good.
Look at this sword right here. It's so impractical. Like, okay, it looks practical, right? In a way.
Show me the other side. Oh, what the hell? What?
The handle is...
Why is there only one side of the crossguard?
I don't know. I think
And
it's a hook
I mean,
guard,
it's yeah. I mean, like it's cool, but so. Like when it comes to games like Monster Hunter, like those weapons are over the top, like no doubt. But that's because they're fighting giant fucking monsters.
Did I get past?
Like they're supposed to be over the top. They're supposed to be huge, like because that's what they have to kill. But and like I guess it applies to this game too because you're not fighting like regular dudes. You're fighting like demons and giant fat dudes that run at you for looking at them.
Well, that was a Cyclops.
Oh, okay. And but like, yeah, like these weapons, except for the spear, would work in that instance because they're designed to kill things like that. The spear, I can't accept it because like the crossguard is too weird.
This one's so stupid because this is all one full blade. Like all of it's all melded together.
One piece of metal. Yeah,
it's
all one piece of metal.
Yeah, it's all one piece. Even the guard and everything, except for that gold piece right there. That's the only thing that's not the same metal. The blade.
I mean, it looks cool.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it does look cool, but like, damn, it looks so impractical. Like even the guard is part of the blade.
It does. And again, why only make it have one edge? You have a whole sword. Use all of it.
Yeah. That's not the most weird one.
That's always been my one complaint.
Look how pretty this bow is, though.
Is that a bow?
Yeah. That's a pretty bow.
Yeah, that's actually pretty cool looking.
Yeah, but watch.
It's huge, though.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay, the bow.
Oh my God, how strong is this guy? That has to be like at least 170-pound bow. Jesus.
I actually have a bow that weighs about 80 pounds. I actually do have like a heavy bow. I'm a strong dude too. And it looks about similar to the bow I have. Because I do have a bow like that. In a way. And
well, yeah, like
really,
the bigger bows, like the war bows, they're pretty big.
Yeah, it's a war bow. Yeah, it's made for war. It's made for fighting things. It's made for killing things. It's not made for target practice or practicing killing things. It's not made for things that are too easy to kill. It's not made for hunting either. It's made for fucking.
No, of course not.
Yeah.
But like.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like it's the same argument like for the bow in Monster Hunter World.
Yeah.
Because that thing shoots spears. It doesn't shoot arrows. It shoots spears.
Now
These
that
things
one.
are huge.
Now that one may be a different.
Like-
This one shoots actual arrows.
But yeah, like the bow in Monster Hunter, it's
Yeah,
again,
I've seen that. That's,
it's practical for the setting. Because like
if that person
those
had to
monsters
be really
are
super,
huge.
That person had
So-
to be strong. That person has to be strong, man.
yeah, I mean, have you seen the size of the greatsword in Monster Hunter?
Oh yeah.
It's fucking ginormous.
I
And,
played
like,
all. I used all the weapons in Monster Hunter. My favorite was the bow. Cause the reason. What's funny is it was, for a time it was considered the weakest weapon because it did the less damage. But it was a weapon that can.
yeah, but it had all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it had all those effects like paralysis, poison. It had all those effects on it.
I used paralysis
my
a lot.
favorite weapon. My favorite weapon was my two favorite weapons were the charge blade. Really love the charge blade.
Yeah.
And the heavy bow gun. Because you could just like stick a giant revolving magazine in that thing and go.
That was the most stupidest looking
like a
one
fucking
in my
Gatling gun. It's like what I didn't get is how that thing turned into a Gatling gun. Like it just like you just mow down monsters. Okay, now that is ridiculous. That thing right there. No. Just no. What is that?
It's supposed to be like a wand, but you could also smack people with it. In all honesty, it's made for magic, not for fighting. But damn it, since you can smack people with it, I would assume that this thing would, like those little things at the end, would be really good for getting it stuck in people. It'd be good for it.
Yeah, like
for like an improvised weapon.
And I've said this multiple times, but the only thing that would make this weapon. Oh wait, actually zoom in on the weapon a little bit, if you can. Okay, so it does have some semblance of a crossguard. Okay, I didn't think it did.
Yeah, it does.
So that's what would make the weapon better, because you would slide your hands down and accidentally hit the
look,
giant ass wheel on the end.
Yeah, that's a nice little crossguard right back here too, just in case if you want to like grab it at the end right here and just like smack somebody with it. It's good for like
Yeah.
It's mostly made for like magic, but because it's got these little blades at the end, I'm assuming it's good for an improvised smacking weapon.
That is true. It does seem to be very good at that.
And even without blades, you could still beat the shit out of somebody with a blunt weapon.
Yeah, a stick is a stick. It's still gonna hurt no matter no matter what it's made at it.
Yeah. Okay.
Like,
there's this one guy.
like, how do you think humanity started? We started with sticks.
Yeah. There's this one reviewer guy, Shadiversity. I'm gonna
Yes,
argue
him.
with
I love him.
I'm gonna argue with him on one of his
Gotcha,
points, and
yes.
that is the nunchucks. The nunchucks are more practical than he thinks they are. And two reasons. One, the guy never trained in nunchucks, and nunchucks are a common training weapon in Japan. And and a average Japanese person knows more about a nunchuck than a fucking American. I'm just gonna say that.
Well, he's right about one thing. That the nunchucks are
you could get hurt with them, yes, but the point of a nunchuck is to never hurt yourself, and a person who's trained in that will never miss. Never. And they will never, like, hurt themselves. That's the point of the weapon. It's the point to offset the trajectory of a weapon. That's the point of the weapon. And it was also made for hitting somebody behind the shield. It was also made as a weapon to hide poisons as well. And some nunchucks at the end of the blade had like little tips at the end. So they were used to hold like poison, and they were used for espionage. They were not made for like war. They were made for espionage, not war. So he put it in a war standpoint, not an espionage standpoint.
Flail is the same way.
Yeah.
Yeah, every weapon has its use. Like the like the flail. It's very similar to the nunchucks in a way, except it's normally longer. But I guess the flail's a little bit more dangerous because it has metal spikes.
Yeah. And for anyone
Normally anyway.
Like we know a lot about weapons, and the fact that we're talking about them like that, yeah, that's a big thing. How would I put it? Like, I'm gonna argue with Shadowversity on that one weapon, because I know a lot more about like the nunchucks and why they were used than he thinks he does. Like, I'm not gonna argue with his like point of yes that they would not be good at war. They are not made for war. They are not made for a big scale battle. They are made for espionage. That's the whole point of the weapon. It's made for fighting people, not just in close range, but also to unsheath a person with a spear. It's made to get rid of a person's spear as well, because the chains on the weapon are used to wrap around a spear and to grab said spear head and pull the head off. That's the whole point of, the whole point of that weapon is to fuck up someone else's day. It's not made for to win a war or fight in a battle. It's made to fuck up people in close spaces. There's all these fancy tricks you can do with them, but that's not what they're made for. You know? They're made to hide poisons inside the handle. They're made to stab people from behind. They're made to make less noise. They're also very practical in a way that they are so small, in a manner of speaking, that an average person could hide them anywhere. And they were also really good at hiding these things. They were also good to choke out a person. They were made for, like I said over and over again, espionage, not war, fighting, or anything like that. They're made to kill, not to be practical. That's the whole point of the weapon. I said my piece. But anyway, yeah, that's improvised weapons. My master told me this. Anything you wield is considered a weapon. Anything you see can be considered a weapon.
I gotta mute for just a second, but I'm still listening.
Okay. But yeah, my master is not wrong. Anything can be considered a weapon. Like, for instance, an average person probably has a coffee mug. Smack that once on somebody, that's a good improvised weapon. Just BAM! There's glass everywhere. Oh, you have a really strong mug? BAM! You have some kind of metal pipe? Well, BAM! You have some sort of a knife? Yeah, that's a good one. Have a bowl? Yeah, like a bowl? Yeah, smack that shit across somebody's face and break it? Yeah. And even plastic. Plastic is surprisingly useful in the manner of damage. As long as a person doesn't have armor on, if you have a sharp enough piece of plastic and not so flimsy of a piece, you could pretty much cut people to pieces with it. If it's not flimsy or anything like that. If it's like a good chunk of plastic, yeah. If it's a flimsy piece of plastic, you could, if you have a long enough piece, you could choke somebody out with that. it's surprisingly anything can be made a weapon if you done right. If done right. For instance, I have this broken ass smartwatch right here that I have. I got it.
Yeah.
I could wrap it around my knuckles and just smack somebody in the face with it.
Which weapon are you talking about?
I'm talking about how practical any random object can be used as a weapon.
Oh, yes. I've told you before. Wait, did I ever tell you before that I do MMA?
No, you didn't. That's cool.
Well, it's a family tradition. Ever since I was 4, I've been training MMA, doing it for 17 years. But I started practicing in weapons about 7 years ago, and I started teaching weapons in my classes. And my first lesson was to go around the building and find me a weapon. And like, people brought me chairs, people brought me they brought me sticks, they brought me broom handles. One guy just stood there because he's like, I am a weapon. I'm like, you failed. You're like, normally you would pass because technically, legally, you are a weapon. But it's not, that wasn't the lesson I was trying to teach. And I taught them like,
he was trying to think outside the box.
Weapons fighting.
He was trying to be outside the box and
Yeah.
was smart about it.
Yeah, weapon. Yeah, and like, weapons fighting is, I taught them that this is different than hand-to-hand fighting. If you are fighting with a weapon, you are intending to kill your target.
Yeah.
This is not always. A weapon can be used to disable your target too. Like, a weapon that doesn't have a sharp tip can be used to, like, take out their legs or something, and so you can run away.
Yeah, well,
But,
like in Japanese culture, that's not a commonplace, and I want to point this out for anyone who watches this. Japanese culture, there like in older times, that was a point where anything that was considered a weapon, which is anything could be considered a weapon, anything at all, and they meant that. By meaning anything, they meant anything. And the point of that being that you could kill anyone with anything, as long as you're smart enough. And they were not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah, of course.
yeah, the fact that you can make a teacup a weapon is insanely interesting. And you would think, how can they do that? Well, first off, you could probably take a shard of it and shove it in someone's eyeball. You could shove it down someone's throat and just like kill them like that. You could smack them across the head with the damn the teacup and like disorient a person and then choke them out.
Or you could use the scalding hot water inside of the tea.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Anything can be made a weapon, even a teacup.
Oh, I gotta mute again real quick.
Okay, go ahead. But as improvised weapons go, anything that's relatively like short, long, or metallic would be a really good one. But that's the thing. Medieval weapons or like improvised weapons are all different.
ありがとう。
ありがとうよ。
ありがとう。
Alrighty, I am back. I apologize.
Yeah, that's alright.
It's a job.
今日も遅くまでお疲れ様でした。豪華な景品が盛りだくさんです。
But yeah, as we were saying, the weapon.
Improvised weapons.
今日も遅くまでお疲れ様でした。
Yep. So yeah, so I was saying like weapons throughout history have had. Oh, one second.
Again.
Anyway, weapons throughout history have had multiple uses. Like the pike. The pike is a extremely long spear.
Yeah.
And that was meant to be like shield walls, like so you can have a bunch of range on your spear.
And it was made for a weapon to be behind closed quarters and used outside of closed quarters at the same time.
Down like a narrow hallway, you're not getting past that.
Yeah.
But, like if an enemy were to get past like your spearhead, you're fucked. Unless you had a secondary weapon, which most people did.
Yeah.
Like they have like a sword on their side or something.
Or like a dagger or something concealed.
Mm-hmm.
You never know once you get
but
past
like nunchucks, like
nunchucks is a good one.
Like I do understand where Shad's coming from, because his study of medieval weapons is unparalleled. Like
in a
he
sense
knows
that he,
so much.
Yes, but also
Like,
he forgets some practicalities, and he goes with his bias rather than the actual practical use of the weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Like he should.
Yeah. Yes.
He goes with his practical bias, not like an actual standpoint of the fact that it was made and it worked and it was made for a specific use.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I want to point out that he should definitely fix his attitude on that.
The one thing I do agree with when it comes to his what was it? His analysis. That's what I'm looking for. Is defense. If the other enemy has a weapon that is not nunchucks, they have the advantage if you don't have the surprise. Because like nunchucks are supposed to be a surprise weapon, like surprise bitch, like, and like the fight's supposed to be over pretty soon.
Well, yeah, but there was two individuals that used the weapon in a unpractical manner, and that's why you see many people using all those flippy ass tricks and shit with them. And there was two individuals, Ora Shankai and Tiberia Shenko, were two individuals. They were two female individuals who used the weapon in impracticality. And it threw people off guard, regardless if they were surprised or not that they had them. They were flinging them fuckers around so fast that it caused the person in front of them to freak out. And because of that, it was more of a mindset game, a mind game. to mess with the person. And when you can
Of course.
and because that person was able to flick it so fast, they were able to smack the person's weapon right out of their hand because they were shocked that they were doing it so fast, moving the weapon so fast. And if you do it just right, you can move that weapon really faster than the eye can see it.
Yeah, and like that's also a good tactic, misdirection.
Yeah.
Because like there was
That's
this
actually
famous
something
war. I think it was a Chinese war that was fought like thousands of years ago.
Yeah.
But there was this guy. He was extremely good at juggling. And like he proposed, like he walked out to the front line and started juggling 9 balls, and the enemy was so stunned that they just surrendered because like how do we compete with that? Like he can juggle 9 balls, but he was just a dude. He was just really good at juggling.
Yeah, it's misdirection. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And what made it funny is back.
It's like saying like, "Hey, look at that!" Kicks you in the dick.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that.
That's the whole point of nunchucks. They are made to surprise you, but the point of it is also the person behind it, rather than just the weapon. The weapon was made there for surprising the opponent, but the weapon was wielded by very smart, very cunning, very surprisable individuals who had really a lot of training with this weapon, and it was so much training with this weapon that they used it as a main espionage weapon. And that was kind of the whole point.
Yeah. And I do understand that there are exceptions to this.
Oh, very
like,
much so.
And like in this, or like if someone's wearing full plate mail, nothing's getting past that.
Well, by technicality, remember I said these two individuals made the well, when I was talking about those two individuals earlier, yes, you could say plate mail would definitely protect you. But you're in plate mail. Let me explain this. So you're slow in plate mail, especially if you're like an average Joe, and you're not like a soldier or something, and you happen to be wearing it just to protect you. So imagine yourself like that, because there was an individual who did that because he wanted to throw the army off, saying like there was multiple people, but they didn't realize there was an espionage warrior. She went ahead and choked out everyone in that plate mail armor with her nunchucks. That's what I said about that weapon. Is it's more practical of use if you know what the uses are. And like if you could get on someone's back so quickly that they don't have a reaction to it, you are like, it doesn't matter how much protection you have, you're screwed.
And even plate mail has its weaknesses. Like if you were to use a warhammer could dent a helmet on a plate mail and knock you unconscious.
Yeah.
Like,
or kill you
or
regardless.
Yeah. Or like plate mail has like divots in the armor because you can't wear solid plate mail or you won't be able to move.
Speaking of
so
plate
you
mail,
can like stick a dagger.
Let's talk about weapons that were made to destroy people in plate mail, heavy armor, and stuff like that. For instance, like the Japanese club. For instance, the giant Japanese club. Most people don't realize that weapon was made to destroy heavy armor units, and it was wielded by a great grand individual. Okay, so the history behind that weapon, there was an individual who known as Sada Sukai, and he was a grand big guy, really big guy, about 7 foot tall motherfucker, and he was really, really buff, like almost as big as those what you call them, the sumo wrestlers. He was almost almost as big as those guys, but muscular and not fat. And the thing is, that guy wielded the club like it was a stick, and he was he was a force to be reckoned with. He was a guy who had that, and a lot of people who went behind him wielded the weapon too, and they were strong individuals, but they were not as effective as him. And essentially that weapon was made for him, not like anybody else, but people used the weapon as well and made weapons around that weapon that he wielded. And he wielded a lot bigger one than the rest of the people did. His hands, okay, my
Yeah, of
hands.
course.
If you were to get a measuring tape and measure your hands, right? My hands are about 11 inches all the way around. His hands, on record, or by study, were 42 inches all the way around.
Jesus Christ. That's literally Shrek incarnate.
Yeah, and the thing is, that guy was 7 foot tall, really big guy. I'm 6 foot tall. Now imagine somebody about like only about a foot taller than me. Somebody like really strong. Like that dude has to be nuts. And the thing is, there was people in Japan, like very rare people, but there was people in Japan that had like a crap ton of strength and a crap ton of height on them, and they were considered to be like, if you were tall, you were considered strong back in those days. They may have over-exaggerated some of the things, but regardless, they wouldn't depict the guy wielding the weapon so well if he didn't do it well.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And you gotta think that sometimes the Japanese culture are literal with their depictions, rather than like what we would see with exaggeration. And that's nuts. You gotta think some of the, like, if you hear like Japanese tales and stories, you gotta think like half those could be real, like about people like, you know, surviving death.
Yeah, most myths are based in truth. So.
Exactly. And a lot of people forget that. It's like, despite it being a myth, it's based in truth rather than falsehood.
Yeah.
A myth is a myth because it's forgotten rather than known as wild, known knowledge, based knowledge.
Or I guess it's legends that are based in truth. Myths are, I guess, like dragons. Like no one ever knows if they ever exist. But I like to believe they did at some point. But
more than likely, probably did, and that's the thing. They were probably,
or maybe it was
else.
like maybe it was dinosaurs that people thought were dragons.
Who knows?
Like,
but the thing I want to point out is that almost every culture has their own variation of dragon, and those individuals never met each other. So if you think about it, that has to be some sort of creature that looked like a dragon to them. It had to be. Because why would so many cultures all over the planet that didn't know or see each other or hear about each other with zero contact have something so similar? And was named the exact same thing.
True.
That's nuts.
It's
unless it was like really big coincidence, which I highly doubt it.
Yeah, I do too.
There has to be a creature of something.
Yeah, that existed at some point.
It's and it's more likely not around anymore, but it had to have been something. Similar to how we thought the giant squid was a myth for so long until there was proven proof that it exists.
Yeah. Like how we thought the megalodon was a myth, and they're like, no. It was real.
That was real, but it's not around anymore, but it's real.
That's why I never go in the ocean.
Oh god. Yeah.
But
so yeah, that's the thing. You really should people should really like look up their history, man. Like they should really actually pay attention.
And like I'm a foodie. Like I love food. I'm not like fat or anything, but like I just love to eat and I love to cook.
Oh yeah.
So I've always wanted to go to the cultural origins of my favorite foods, like Italy, Germany. I've yet to try Korean food, but I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah.
してくださいね。
Now, the one thing I do want to get better at is archery. I'm decent at it. I'm not good at it because like my vision is terrible. Like, I have a hard time typing most of the time because I can't really differentiate between the letters. And,
何をお探
and
しで
it's
すか？
hard because I'm a bit of a writer. I love to write stories. So it gets really hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things I gotta live with most of the time. And oh, another weapon that could get through, that was kind of designed to get through armor. It was a German weapon, I think. The Ep2. You know what that is? Do you know what the Ep2 is?
I forget.
So sometimes it's called a crow's beak.
Ah, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that weapon, it was made to get through heavy armor because it had a spike, it had like a pickaxe on the end, and it had a warhammer. So like it's like the one thing that you could use to, well, not the one thing. Like,
So,
very good for getting
one
through
side,
armor.
I actually know what you're talking about. So one side was made to peel off someone's armor and also do piercing damage at the same time and pierce someone's flesh while also doing it. Then once you rip that off, you can rip that person's armor off while also doing some damage and actually might rip some of their actual flesh off while switching it around immediately and smacking them with the hammer, dealing internal damage.
And it also had a spike on the very top, so you could just stab them.
Yeah. Shit like that. People gotta think that weapons, like, despite how they were made or they look in history, a lot of them had practical uses that people forget over time that existed. And that's why people like us who study history and exist, so we could tell those people, well, hey, this is what that was actually made for. And
history, I love history. Like, history is one of my favorite things because, like, just like one of my favorite groups of people to ever exist were the Spartans, because those dudes were badass. I mean, they trained to such physical perfection that they were almost like gods amongst men.
Yeah, and they were
because
also
of the
naturally
ridiculous stuff they could
selected
do.
too. In history,
Yeah.
the Spartans threw any babies that didn't have any muscle mass to a...
Yeah.
Yes, that's cruel and crazy, but they did it. They threw away babies, essentially, that had no muscle mass. And they would train a child until the child
they would
could
literally
die.
throw that child to the wolves,
Essentially,
and like the child had to kill all the wolves, and then they would be a Spartan.
Yeah, they did. They did something. They actually did that. Imagine a child
Yeah,
having to fight wolves, and if you died, you're not a Spartan. But if you did kill them all, you are. And the thing was, that didn't stop there. You went through physical and brutal training every day of your life.
Yes. And
That's
you
like a
never
natural-
stopped training.
Yeah,
Like,
and you don't
it's-
stop training even until like you're old, like even in your 50s, 60s, 70s, you don't stop. The only reason that
And,
practice
they-
stopped was because it was considered inhumane, which it is, and unpractical. However, it wasn't unpractical; it was just inhumane.
Yeah. Like that's what I didn't understand. Like, it worked. Like all those horrible things, despite how bad they were, it worked.
And
It got
made
results.
really tough soldiers.
Yeah,
Super
like-
soldiers, essentially.
And I guess like the War of the 300, it was like blown way out of proportion. Like they had a lot more soldiers than just 300. They had 300 Spartans,
Yes.
but they did have more soldiers than like they weren't
did.
Spartans, but they were soldiers.
Those soldiers
And,
is the ones that died on the battlefield, while as the Spartans are the only
Yeah.
ones that survived. And a lot of people forget that, and I feel like they should remember that.
Like King Leonidas, he did die. Like he was the king of the Spartans. He did die on the battlefield. That was because he wanted to stay with his people. But like Spartans were ridiculous, man. Like they invented the phalanx movement. A movement that lasted thousands of years. That the Romans eventually adopted.
Yeah.
The Romans took a lot from Spartans.
Oh yeah.
The Romans took a lot from everybody.
Yeah, they did. They just stole a lot of things. But what I like
but then again, they became one of the greatest empires that ever existed.
yeah.
So
And what I like to point out,
maybe except for the
that-
Mongolian Empire.
Yeah. What I like to point out is the Mongolians fought the Japanese the Chinese and the Japanese at one point. And you obviously hear the
Yeah.
tale about Milan and stuff like that, where women were able to go into war because of her for the Chinese. A lot of people forget that the Mongolians fought the Japanese at one point, and as well, and that's a big reason why the Mongolians had like really similar samurai-esque looking armor. And it's because they stole the idea of samurai-looking-esque armor from the Japanese. And
they didn't have the honor of the Japanese, so they just murdered everybody.
Yeah, that was their whole point. Their standpoint was kill anything that moved, steal anything that wasn't nailed down, and take anything that wasn't theirs, and use it. But the Mongolians, however, did make their own armor. They did make their own weapons, equipment, armor, and everything. And because of how big of a nation they were, thanks to their leader, they ruled over so many lands. Some people forget, like this, like you want to know, like playing the game of who did it first, like who tried to take over the world first. The Mongolians actually tried. They almost succeeded. They succeeded more than fucking Hitler did.
Yeah, I don't think they ever got as far as today North America.
No.
But they did. But they did take over all of Europe. I know they did.
They took over all of Europe. They took over half of Japan, and they took over half of China in a matter of months. And you gotta think, their armies were spread out thin. But the thing was, it wasn't because they were a small army. No. It's because they were ruled with an iron fist and told, if you don't do this, you're screwed. And because of that, they weren't fearing of death. No. They didn't want to die because they would die. No. They were feared what would happen to their comrades and themselves after death. Because their leader was that strict, they were afraid of... They were not afraid of their own death, but they were afraid of what would happen to a person after death. For instance, if a leader of the Mongolian war effort was to die, the crew would pay for it, not him.
Yeah.
Because he's dead. What you gonna do with a dead body? That's why I love it.
But actually, that does remind me of a video game that I really loved, Ghost of Tsushima. I loved that game. It was very well done, and well, I didn't like the stances. Like the stances you could change, like those were a little over the top. But like, they worked. But like, unless you had superhuman strength, most of those wouldn't work.
Yeah.
Like the thing about breaking through the shield, unless that person was super weak or you had superhuman strength, that's not happening. But it was very well done. Like the part where she sheathes the sword and strikes it like through their body. That's real. That's a real like Japanese
頭から開いてお待ちしています
move.
Yeah.
And I apologize if there are any viewers that it was like this move, it was called this. I'm sorry, I don't know much about Japanese culture. Okay.
I do, and I'll
I have
any insecurities that he doesn't have or doesn't point out correctly.
Like I loved the fact. Like, I love the story most of all. Like this samurai came to terms that he's going to have to abandon his ways to save his people, and like he's gonna have to give in to stealth, which is pretty much unheard of with samurai. Like they're like face it head on and strike your enemy down by looking him in the eyes.
And Ghost of Tsushima is the game is essentially is telling you a samurai who fights people head on to fight in a so-called coward's way or an espionage way, and that you gotta think is insane. Like to a person who's like
because he was raised his whole life to fight this way, and like he had to learn how to fight in the shadows like a shinobi, and which was kind of I really thought they should bring in like an actual shinobi to like teach like in the game to teach him these ways, but I guess like the thief would have to work, I guess, like
so he had to learn a way of fighting by himself to fight dirty, essentially, and
he even had to learn how to fight like the Mongolians.
Yeah, he had to fight brutal, fast. And that's the thing. A samurai is about honor. He had to fight without honor. He had to fight dirty, essentially. And that's what the Mongolians did.
He basically had to fight like Batman. He had to use fear.
Yeah. Mongolians, what made them powerful wasn't just their numbers, their way of thinking. No, it was using the enemy's weapons against them and using the armor and weapons to physically and mentally fuck up the ideology of the other enemy. For instance, why the Mongolians took over half of those places was because they dressed up like the individuals that were there just to fuck with them. Just so they could get in and destroy everything immediately. And that's the thing, a lot of people in history didn't do that. And the Mongolians were the ones that did that, and they fucked everyone else up. Obviously, yes, they were defeated in China, yes, but you gotta think that Mongolians were the first ones to do that.
But it's also the I guess an American example was like back in like the 1700s, Americans and like the British, they fought in a very stagnant way. Like they would line up in lines and they would just shoot at each other. That was it. And like, but the Indians, or the Native Americans, they taught them how to fight like differently. Like they told them to move around the battlefield. Yes, use your guns, but you have a sword on the end of your gun. Use it.
Yeah, use it.
Because you know how long it takes to reload a musket?
A very long time.
It takes fucking forever. Stab him while he's reloading.
Yeah.
And muskets aren't, well, they're accurate, but not that accurate.
They're not that very.
They're accurate up to like about 40 yards.
Yeah.
And that's it.
There was actually an individual in American history that I actually do praise for, and that is like you would say like a sniper or something. This guy was a musketeer, and he was a musketeer, the only musketeer I could ever think of that actually killed people from more than 40 yards away.
And you're thinking,
Yeah.
how the hell did he do that? Well, he had a custom-made musket. I don't think it's anywhere in any museum anymore, but it was depicted him with an extra long barrel of a musket.
He might have actually had rifling on the inside of his barrel.
Maybe, who knows? But the point of
But, like-
there was only one guy who thought, hey, let's go with longer range, and he did it, and he killed like leaders and all sorts of things in the matter of minutes. And a lot of the people were baffled. I would agree. Like a weapon at that point was not made for that, and then somebody dying like just like head exploded. What the fuck you gonna do? That's gonna freak everyone out on the battlefield. Especially if there's not supposed to be like ranged weapons like that. And especially if you know the enemy didn't fire at you. Then who the hell did? And where the hell did it come from?
Yeah.
You gotta think like that. Like, who the hell did that?
In like American snipers and to have done so much stuff. I mean, there was this one guy, I cannot remember his name for the life of me, but I think he was the Vietnam War, and he was one of the best snipers to ever exist in American history. And at one point, he crawled like 10 miles. He actually crawled on his stomach 10 miles. And at one point, he stayed so incredibly still that a snake didn't notice him as it crawled over him. And
you gotta think, some people are made for stealth.
Yeah.
And that's a good example.
But like the shinobi, I talked about them before, a Japanese art. And
a shinobi
I think it was eventually adopted by the Chinese, but I think the Japanese invented it.
Yeah.
They invented the art of the shinobi.
They did.
But one of the weirdest weapons I ever thought that the shinobi made was the black egg.
Oh yeah, that is very weird.
They would literally hollow out an egg, put glass shards inside of it, paint it black, and just yeet it at people.
It was effective.
Yeah, you throw it in their eyes, you're gonna get glass shard in their eyes, oh fuck, I can't see, and then you stab them.
Yeah, pretty much. It's effective, but it was fuck.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, if it broke, if it works, don't fix it. Yeah, it worked. And doesn't matter how much armor you had either. That shit's just gonna go through your visor, man.
Yeah, because they got pretty good at throwing them.
I threw him like a damn baseball player throws a damn baseball really, really fast. You really think you could dodge a person throwing an egg like that fast? It's just okay.
Especially when you weren't expecting it.
Yeah, okay. Imagine a professional baseball player, a very, very the best pitcher you can think of, a super curveball pitcher or something like that, or a super straight ball pitcher. You gotta think that person's throwing a ball over almost 100 miles an hour, almost, or even faster. Who knows? And then imagine a person doing that with a small object as an egg and throwing it exactly the same amount. Do you think?
Yeah.
And especially if you're not facing, if you're not actually paying attention, because that's what a shinobi is for. And imagine them throwing it that fast at you, so fast that a normal person can't see the ball or the object thrown. And the reason they painted it black was because black is a color that is more or less not paid attention to. And that's why they did that. And that's why it was called the black egg. But regardless, they threw that. And if you hit your face, you're fucked. Because the point of the black egg was to, literally incapacitate an opponent by blinding them and hurting them internally.
I've had glass in my eye before. It's not fun. Not fun.
Now imagine millions of shards in your eye, not just one.
Yeah, like most recently, I actually got hurt that way. It wasn't glass; it was metal, and wood.
Yeah, and you're not
Like,
blind.
but
You actually have both of your
basically-
eyes working. For me, I had
I almost went blind.
yeah, my left eye. I had an explosion to my face in my left eye, and it's a wonder that I'm sitting here.
Yeah, you see someone threw it, like someone shot a firework at you.
It wasn't on purpose, but it just happened that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just.
But like I was chopping wood, and when I brought my axe down, the wood exploded and hit me in the face. So like I didn't even notice it like before. Like I noticed I got hit in the face, but I didn't notice I got wood in my eye. And then that day I was working on a metal project, and I was doing some grinding.
Yeah.
And like a dumbass, I didn't wear safety goggles.
But
so
let's get back to on topic. And the fact that Black Egg was made, was to, like we said, was to mess up your eyes and incapacitate an opponent, especially a person who uses their eyes. And it didn't matter if you had armor on or nothing. It would go through those cracks in the armor just to fuck you up. Because it's like a powder to dust of glass with also actual shards of glass. Not only would it fuck up your eyes, but the shards that fall on the floor would mess up your feet if you're not wearing shoes. So you're gonna be messed up on the feet, and you can't run away, and you're gonna be messed up in the eyes, and you can't see. So what's gonna fucking happen? You're gonna die. They're gonna take off your helmet and just stab you. You could be one of those guys who flail around, though. You could be one of those guys who flail around and smack everything. But in a sense of why these eggs were used, they were used for espionage to kill out leaders and stuff, and leaders usually didn't wear armor. So imagine, imagine you like doing that in the middle of an office or something, and there's like a bunch of people around you. You could instantly kill one of your coworkers like that. Yeah, and they would give less jobs to the person.
And the reason I bring this up is because I saw a TV show once that was like for kids, where they made like a black egg, but like it was just full of like pepper or something. But like I heard this on another TV show called like Game Grumps. You probably heard of him. Yeah. They talked about that. I saw the same show they did, and they talked about this where like if one of the kids just decided they had enough that day and switched out their own black egg with a real one. And they just fucking yeeted at somebody through glass, and they're like, "What the fuck, Jerry?" And he's like, "Yeah, you'll be stealing my lunch again, will you?" Something like that.
And it's such an easy weapon to make too. All you really do is just hollow out an egg and just like put glass in there. And
imagine if you used an ostrich egg.
Oh god! Imagine somebody yeeting a glass-filled ostrich egg just at someone.
Like, imagine them yeeting it strong enough for it to actually break.
Oh god, yeah. Because ostrich eggs just are pretty tough.
Ostrich eggs are hard. Like imagine someone throwing it so hard that it actually manages to break, which is probably going to break your nose. And then again, it's filled with glass. So. Like, oh my god, that would be so bad.
Yeah, man, that's insanity. Yeah, just imagine that. Like being something thrown at your face, that's gonna hurt regardless. And then especially at a high speed. But with glass, that's gonna fuck you up. That's the thing. That's why the Japanese were interesting and more deadly, because they were considered everything a weapon, not just one thing or another. No, or not anything that was made to be weapons. No, anything was considered a weapon, and that's why the shinobi, for example, good example, it made everything and anything a weapon. A stick, a regular ass stick could be a good weapon. If it was wielded in the right hands.
And like that's why I love the Mongolians' use of fire.
Yeah.
They used fire a lot.
And that was a big reason why they won a lot.
Yeah. They set people on fire.
And they used those people who were set on fire and used bits and pieces of their limbs that they cut off and used those weapons as like fiery weapons. And because of the blood was also on fire, they would set people and put their clothes on fire. They were disgustingly fucking... What's the word?
Like, they were disgustingly good at their jobs.
Yeah.
Like, it was like they did horrible, awful, terrible things.
Yes.
But they did it well.
Yeah. So well that they almost took over the world. Just imagine a Mongolian-ruled world. Oh, God.
None of us would probably be here today.
It's like, there's probably a few people who'd be still around, and that's probably the people who lived in areas that they couldn't take over.
People that lived in Mongolia.
Yeah, but I'm talking about like places where they didn't get to. They didn't try. Like at the time era that they tried to take over, they tried to take over the world, what they thought was the whole world, which was Europe, China, and Japan.
Yeah, because because they probably didn't even know the Americas existed.
Well, at the time it didn't. That's the problem. At the time it didn't. All it was England. America didn't exist. The Americas didn't exist until after England visited, the place that they
Cuba
thought was
and South America.
Yeah, the place that they thought was India, but in reality it was just the Americas. And the thing was that most people forget this, that most of you Americans came from England. Yeah.
Like the Nordic people, they were the first to find America. They found it
Us.
like hundreds of years before Europe did.
Yeah. And the people who fought like 50 or 60 years after the Nordic people were the Mongolians, actually. The Mongolians actually did visit those areas, but they never actually saw anyone. They saw.
Yeah, it's because
that's because the Indians were good at espionage, unlike the Mongolians, and the Mongolians were not made for that. So they were made for straightforward tactics. But because they didn't saw anyone, which the Indians made sure of that, they left, assuming there was no one there.
Oh, hey guys, there's no one to murder here. Let's go home.
Yeah. However, the Nordics were really good at espionage, and they knew that someone was following them. And because of that, that's why they fought there. And and what made this funny is the Mongolians thought the Nordics got rid of everybody there first. That's what their thought process was.
Which was, I would say, impossible, considering the size of the Americas. But then again, they didn't know how big they were.
Exactly. They didn't have a map of the place. They just thought it was a small island.
Yeah.
That didn't, like, to be fair, it was bigger, but they didn't want to waste time, so they just went on. That was a bad thing for them, but they could have had like a base or anything there. They didn't do that. They just left.
And like the Americas have like a huge strategical advantage.
Yeah, they did.
Because they're directly across the ocean, this ginormous landmass waiting to be conquered.
And for anyone who's trying to figure out what the fuck are we talking about, like Nordic people and Mongolian people, the Nordic people are a Scottish folk. Yeah.
Some refer to them as Vikings.
Yes.
Which was they weren't even given that name until like the 1800s.
Yeah. And they were classified as that in the modern age. Rather, they were just individuals who fought in ice and snow. Nordic people, like, okay, in Scotland, there's certain places you would want to avoid, and that's like the high mountains had like a lot of snow, and then there was like the low areas that had a lot of swampish lands, and there's areas who were like nice and flat that were really good for plantations. It's literally like you could go anywhere, and there's like all sorts of environments and stuff. And especially when I grew up there when I was a young lad, yeah, you see all this kind of stuff there. It's like, it's nuts. So yeah. But yeah, the Nordics are a definite good example.
But hey, Cowboy, what's up, buddy? It's my dog.
Doggo.
Yeah, he's I think he's a Shih Tzu, but he's a mutt. So. Right, no, you guys get out of here. Go out there. Yeah. So one thing I've always noticed is, despite how many people hate hearing it, European metalwork was superior to Japanese metalwork at the time. Because they had hotter forges.
Hold on, not entirely. Not entirely. I'll explain this. They were more equal in certain measures, like the swords of a Japanese version were better. However, a metalwork and armor smithing were better by the Europeans. However, in plated metal armor were better by the Japanese, while as to the armor work of single-plated armor were better by the Europeans. It was kind of a mismatch. Some people forget this, and it's insanity. For instance, there was a type of technique that the Japanese crafted and perfected of making swords. That's why their swords were really strong. And if you actually hold up a sword that was actually made for war in Japanese culture, and like had it there and just shoot a bullet at it, like a standard bullet of modern age, to it, it would slice the bullet in half. And I'm not even joking this. Somebody actually did this and proved that it does do that. So you gotta think, who in the hell came up with the idea of slicing things in half by the Japanese culture standards with that sword? That sword was made to cut through armor, heavy armor, really big stuff. And no, it's not like a kill everything standard, and it was mostly wielded by professional people. But you gotta think, if a person was strong enough and wielded enough, they could cut through a piece of armor like butter.
Well,
it depends on the armor, but you get my point.
Like full plate, like leather armor, 100%. Yeah, like you're cutting right through that shit.
It was also
especially if you got a heavy sword. Yeah. If you got a heavy sword, really sharp edge, and you got muscle behind you, you're cutting through leather armor.
A good example of a person really cutting through armor. Toda Shikama was a sword-wielding master at the time, and he was a individual who wielded just a katana, and it was handcrafted by him. He made it himself, and he named it Hono Shukui, which I can't remember what the name means, but if I remember correctly, he was nicknamed the Blood Tyrant, and he was an individual who fought bowmen, swordsmen, all sorts of people, never lost, until he fought one guy, and his head was crushed in. But before he died, he killed over 800 different leaders, killed so many brutal people who wielded samurai armor. And for individuals who don't know what samurai armor looks like, because this game actually shows what that looks like, hold on.
ショッピングプラザへようこそ。こちらショッピングプラザ
Like
名物の
traditional samurai armor, not talking about that crazy shit either. This is what samurai armor looked like. Imagine a person cutting through that plate armor really fast, just slicing them through. You know how long that would take? Like, samurai armor, most samurai armor had, like, leather, yes. But a lot of it was metal. And if you're talking about, like, the traditional heavy-ass samurai people, like, hold on. If I can find it. Individuals who wore stuff like this. You get, like, in that time era, a lot of things were padded so well that it was made to
今日も遅く
block
またのご来
sword.
店お待ちしています
It was made to block sword and spear hits.
Yeah.
That's why I want to point that out, because armor was a big thing in Japanese culture to protect themselves, but it was also made for traditional standpoints.
Yeah.
But the armor of, like, a true, like, a heavy weight samurai, this guy, the guy I was talking about here, who could basically cut through anything with butter, because he made himself to do that. He practiced cutting people with armor. That's the point of why I want to point out that, because there's individuals like him that existed at the time period who it's not the weapon, it's the person behind the weapon, and that guy could cut through anything. And to prove his point that he could, he cut through a pillar in a building just to prove his point when he was drunk. Imagine a drunk guy trying to wield a sword and somehow cuts through a metal pillar by himself. I mean, the guy's dead now. It's been thousands of years. But imagine a person doing that in a modern age. What the hell? How strong you gotta be to do that?
Yeah, exactly. And
And that's the thing. He wasn't strong. He was fast. And you gotta think, him being so fast made him like a big force to be reckoned with. And there's another guy as a good example of really strong individuals, but I'll talk about him later. Right now, let's get back to the point of armor. Yeah, most people think, like, this armor's good. No, this armor was good. No, this armor was good. No, it was kind of a both mix-match kind of thing. So, regardless of what you say, it was kind of both eras and both places were really good. It's just that each one of them had their own differences.
yeah, like European heavy plate mail was pretty much unpierceable by everything, with exceptions. Like
with definite exceptions, especially like the movable points of that armor. Really, really easy to get into.
Yeah, but like also like Japanese plate was also had its weaknesses. Like not that you couldn't make armor. You couldn't make armor so perfect that it was like you couldn't do anything about it, because then you wouldn't be able to move in it. You would just be a statue.
Pretty much. See, the point of armor. Sorry if anyone hears my dog in the background. But the point of armor was to protect the vital points of the body. And the Japanese knew this. So, in standpoint of trying to fuck with people, they had weapons and armor that were made to just get rid of those points that didn't have vitals. That was the point of their weapons. To cut through, like, say, like, you have, like, your elbow is unprotected in certain armor pieces. The Japanese knew that. So, if you didn't have any arms, you couldn't do anything. So they would slice right at that point and cut your arms off. They didn't cut to the armor. They cut through the part where there's no armor. And they were smart about it. Like, if you do it right, if you cut, like, forward, like, imagine you have your arm out, right? Like, you just lay your arm out, you know, have it nice and, you know, laid out, right? And that's like you imagine you're standing, like, and you have your arms out. You don't, it's absent-minded, but you always have, like, the insides of where you bend your arms forward most of the time. And the Japanese knew that was kind of an absent-minded thing. And when they did that, they sliced that point because that point was very fragile. And they didn't have to cut the full arm off. They cut that part off, and then the arms were useless. It's gruesome, but it's true.
Yeah, so like, this is another reason that I've studied anatomy. Because, well, I don't know much about it yet. Like, I'm going to med school pretty soon.
Yeah.
And I'll learn much more there. But like, if you sever specific tendons, your armor is just gonna your arm's just gonna fly. Like, the armor's it's useless.
And the
You can't use
Japanese
it
knew
anymore.
that because in their culture, like, learning about everything about the body was kind of a big thing in their culture. So, so like, acupuncture is a Japanese thing as well. And you gotta think, like, they knew about all the spots that made things.
I thought that was a Chinese thing. Was it Japanese?
It was a Japanese and Chinese thing. I think both of them kind of did
Huh.
it, but the thing was, like, a lot of people forget that both of them discovered the idea by themselves. And everybody says, it's a Chinese thing. No, it's a Japanese thing. No, it was a both culture thing, you dummy.
I don't think it really matters.
It really didn't matter, because both of them discovered it at a similar time period. And some people forget that. Like, the shinobi used the acupuncture to stop individuals that they wanted to incapacitate, and the Chinese adopted certain ideas like that as well for fighting. Well, as both cultures discovered acupuncture as a way of treatment. And you want to know who figured that out? An old lady. An old lady back in a culture taught the Japanese and the Chinese this idea. An old lady did that. A traveling old lady. What culture was she from? No fucking clue. But that's where it came from.
turns out she was a time traveler. She was American.
Oh, that would be funny as hell.
But like apparently.
Okay, my OBS crashed for anyone who wondered. Sorry about that. The game crashed, the OBS crashed, everything crashed.
Oh, so you're not recording it anymore?
Oh no, it's still recording.
Oh.
Yeah, but the game is disconnected. So all it's gonna really do is just I'm gonna leave this here. Not the episode, but I'm leaving my cutie mark loading screen up. But yeah, as we were talking about like how. What did we leave off of?
The origins of acupuncture.
Yeah, acupuncture was discovered by a few individuals who wanted to try and figure out stuff, and they used porcupine needles, of all things, at first. Then, like, sewing needles, and then, like, needles in general. So if you don't like needles, don't go to an acupuncture place. Because they still use needles.
I've personally never tried acupuncture.
Yeah.
I'd like to one day, but
definitely go to a person.
I don't mind needles. I don't mind needles most of the time.
Yeah.
The only time I mind needles is when they are being used against me against my will. If someone's trying to stab me with a needle, I'm like, yeah, I don't like needles then, but
yeah, that's not here or there. And yeah, but yeah, acupuncture is a definite interesting, method. And
I also would like to try fire cupping.
Oh, that sounds interesting. But for me, I want to point out the standpoint of what acupuncture was used in fighting. Surprisingly enough, there was a weapon known as the narashikori, which is a weapon that used needles. It was just a bunch of strings tied together with a bunch of dangly strings. At the end of the strings, there was needles. And you would think, oh, that's so impractical. Yes, it was. But the weapon was not made for killing people with armor. It was made for fighting people who had no armor. And essentially, the person flicked their wrist, tossed certain needles into an individual, and incapacitated them. And you're thinking, how the hell you do that? Well, if a needle hits a certain nerve, it's going to knock a person out immediately.
And I would like to add a disclaimer. Please don't try these things.
Don't. These
Like,
people we're talking about are individuals who are trained for their entire life to do this.
Yeah. Please don't walk up to someone and go, stab. Because, like, it's not going to work out, I promise. It's really not.
And this individual who thought of this idea, he's dead. And his practice was stopped being used because it was so hard to do. Like, it was insane to do. Like, so insane to do that an average person who trains their entire life to do this probably still wouldn't be able to do it because of the sheer fact that this guy did it since he was 2 or 3 and did this, like, was slowly growing up. And this guy was the guy who created this idea, so he knew all the tricks, and he only trained a few individuals. To this day, there's still, like, 1 or 2 people who know this technique, but they don't use it for fighting anymore. This guy, known as Harakoi, by the way, he actually named a fish, which is koi fish, Harakoi.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're probably wondering why that guy sounds familiar. But anyway, he went ahead and trained his entire existence, his entire manifestation of fighting with needles. And he knew the body like no other, and he used himself as an example. And poked himself with needles to see which one would knock him out. And he was covered head to toe in holes. Because he poked every single spot on his body to find out which one knocks him out. And he figured it out. And he was known as a great assassin. Like a really great assassin. And he killed so many people with it. The thing is, his practice doesn't exist anymore. Like, if you were to look up, like, needle tactics to fight with needles, you probably would not look up and find nothing. And it's because his ideals and ideologies don't exist anymore with fighting with needles. And that's the thing, because it's so hard. It's so insanely hard. And when I practiced ninjutsu, because I did for a while, and I used a chain. A very impractical weapon. A chain. Like, just a regular-ass chain you can find. That sounds like, oh, hey, you could probably just break that with a sword. Yeah. If you wanted to lose the blade. A sword, like, the chain itself was made, I use it to disarm you. And then I'm going to use the thing I disarmed you with and smack you across the head with the disarmed weapon I just took from you. I used it as a blunt object, and I used it pretty well. I still have the damn thing hanging up on my wall. Yeah. But, long story short, don't try any of these things we're talking about, or any of these ideals, weapons.
I have to add a disclaimer because if you do this, like, oh, the red and green pony told me to do it. Like, fuck no. No, we didn't. We're telling you not to do it.
Yeah, we're telling you not to do it.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Like, white. My bad.
Yeah, I got red hair. It's a given. But essentially, please, everyone, do not do this. These people we're talking about are individuals who are long since dead, and their ideas and the way they fought are gone. There's no way to recreate these ideas. We just know that these people existed. And there's certain things that you don't get told in history books or in stuff like that, and it's individuals like this. And these people are talked about, like, passed down from families and ideas that these people existed, and they did. It's just that you don't hear about them that often because they're individuals who are random. They're randos you would see, like, on the side of the street, and that's what they were considered back in those days, and because of that, they were not talked about. So, yeah, you wouldn't hear much about them. But people like us who were told these stories and told about these people know about these people.
Or read about them. Like, it's very obscure to find, but like it's out there.
Yeah. And the people like that exist. And for instance, there was an individual who wielded a sword that was on fire. You're thinking, that's very impractical. Well, yes, it is, but the guy coated it in crude oil. his sword was covered in crude oil all the time. And when he slapped somebody with his sword, or smacked or chopped somebody with his sword, the crude oil would still be on fire and stick to the individual, leaving burn marks. And you're thinking, a flaming sword would be impractical. Yes, if done incorrectly. Flaming swords, yes, were not a common thing, but it happened. And the weapons that were on fire were coated with certain materials. For instance, there was an ash blade. And what that is essentially a person had their weapon on fire with like a certain type of oil that had there, but it was also covered in ash. And that ash don't burn, but it gets hot. Ash is like an item that comes after it's burnt. And it's mostly wood ash. And wood ash is hard to burn again. So when it gets hot and it slaps onto an individual, they'll burn right through someone's armor. Or burn through like leather armor, metal armor will have like tick marks on there essentially. It's nuts. But yeah.
This is true.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. What's another good weapon to talk about? A scythe. A scythe is a good weapon to talk about because originally it was just for agriculture.
Like, I never understood the scythe. I mean, like, I get it. It looks really cool.
It does.
But it's not practical whatsoever.
Well, it was only made for certain points. It was made for agriculture originally.
Yeah.
It was made for
again,
plants.
These things have purposes, and they should be used for those purposes.
However, I could see the practical use of a war scythe. A war scythe, they were used to kill an individual by the neck over if they had a shield. They were used for individuals to incapacitate shield users. That's what they were used for. They were not made for like all these fancy smancy tricks that you would see with people who use them, or like an anime and stuff like that. No, that's just the impractical use of them. And the weapons the ones you would see in anime are non-existent. They didn't exist. Well, there is a few that were similar to anime, but the reason those exist is because not only the bottom blade is a blade, but the top part of that scythe is also a blade. The whole thing is just like a big old spike, essentially, a big old blade, and it was thin enough to cut through armor. That's the big point of that, and it wasn't like the made like you could like essentially grapple somebody and just cut them from behind, which, by the way, is actually a practical use of it. I could see that, or cutting someone's head off from behind. That's what they were used for. They were used to attack from behind, or attack from the side if someone had a shield. And that's not a common thing anymore, because guns. But back in those days, it was a very common sight to see somebody like lose a head. Especially in the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it's just for instance, that's a big thing to talk about. But yeah, sure. Like on his standpoint, scythes are kind of stupid. They were made for agriculture originally. They were made to cut up in weeds. They were made to do all this nice, farming thing. But yeah, they were not made for your standard fight. But the people who wielded them...
they most certainly were not.
No. But the people who wielded them were fierce regardless. And most of the time, some people forget that, yes, they were wielded by farmers too. A lot of farmers, most of the time, wielded these things. And they were modified to fight in like a spear, essentially. But there was ones that were not modified, and people who wielded those were kind of effective in a way of like cutting people from behind. I could see, like, if you were accurate just enough, you could probably go ahead and cut somebody's head off with like an anime-esque scythe. I could see it. Like, I could see it for sure. Like, the idea of cutting flesh with that kind of idealistic weapon is very not practical, but very a way to do it. It's a way to do it. Unless you were, like, trained from birth to fight with that weapon, I don't see anyone to actually kill somebody with a scythe. Other than maybe
But,
them.
And if, and like, I guess another disclaimer, if you do, like, decide to start getting into, like, weapons and, like, swords, knives, armor, please make sure you, please make sure you have someone that knows what they're doing around you.
Especially a person who knows the history of said item to give you tips and pointers, because if not, you're gonna hurt yourself. The first time I wielded the chains was like a baby having a baby bottle. I could not figure it out. I slapped myself and smacked myself so many times, but I soon figured out how to use it. Like, and you're thinking chains, like actual chains, yes. I'm talking about actual physical chains you would be chained up in. Chains like on the side of wall chains. And the reason I chose that as a weapon to use, my master even was concerning why, and I told him that there was an individual in history, and he was known as the guy of Unchained. And there's a guy, like, in this show called Baki, that there's a guy called Unchained in there who symbolizes this exact individual. And in a different standpoint, of course. The actual Unchained of the person Unchained. He was a person who could break any chain and use it as a weapon of effectiveness to get out of jail. Sure, he got arrested, but he used his arrested items to get himself out.
Yeah.
Just imagine that. A man, pretty big size, breaks any chain that he was chained to and just breaks it off, wall and all, and uses that as his weapon of choice to get himself out. And just so you know, this individual I'm talking about is over hundreds of thousands of years old. And this individual was really strong. And this individual went ahead and used chains as like a flail or a mace, essentially. Or like knuckles of sorts. He was entirely strong. And I wanted to use chains like him, essentially. But not in the sense of me being locked up. And just so everyone knows, this individual, you're probably thinking like, oh, he probably did that once. No, this individual, I'm talking about the Unchained guy, went ahead and got himself arrested 8,963 times. So many times, and got out of every single one. Imagine that. And he was locked up in so many weird ways, too, and still got out. That's why he was called the Unchained. Because he was unarrestable. At that time period. In modern day society, he probably would have just got shot. Yeah, but
at some point they're like, you know what, fuck this, pal.
yeah, but in that time period, he was known as the invincible person, essentially. He was super strong, and he got out of prison almost every time. And you got to think, why did he do this, and why haven't we heard of him? Well, because he's dead. And because he was an unwanted person and nobody wanted to hear about him. And the people who did are dead. Or were dead. Yeah. And the one who killed the guy was an individual who just chopped his head off. They were like, we're not going to deal with this. And the thing was, everybody was scared to come near him. And the one person who did kill him was a drunk samurai. He was drunk. He had no master. And the guy pissed him off, so he just chopped the guy's head off. Let's just say that samurai got free drinks for a year. Because, damn. Yeah. I feel like, and the thing is, this guy probably doesn't exist. He probably doesn't. But the thing is, I've been told this story, and I like to tell you guys this. Some of these people probably don't exist, but the thing is, I've been told so many times that these people do, I might as well tell you guys this. You know? It's a story that may or may not exist. Take what you will. But the fact of the matter is that he could exist is still a factor. Anyway.
That is true.
Yeah. And imagining a person like that in the modern day age, sure, there's people who could break chains and metal. You should see them all the time. There's people like that exist all over the place. But you forget that there is the fact that this is the modern age now. Chains are not a big factor anymore. Like, if you go to a prison, you're not going to be chained up, literally. Well, until you get there, yeah. But inside, more than likely not. Unless you're like a really fucked up individual. And if you could break those chains, sure. I've seen people break handcuffs all the time. Handcuffs has little chains on them. The thing is, though, like, imagine yourself, like, okay, I have, like, the chains this man was cuffed in were about the size of your wrist. This man was chained in, like, chains, essentially, big as someone's wrist. Like an average man's wrist. Which, mind you, is about 9 to 10 inches all the way around. Imagine somebody with a solid metal chain that thick all the way around breaking the wall. He had to have been a big individual. I've only heard of him doing his feats. I've never seen or heard what he looked like. That's because he's dead. Long since dead. But sometimes stories tell the person's looks as well. This story, the guy of Unchained had no, like, his existence and ideas of him being unchainable. We only hear about his feats. I didn't hear about any of his, like, looks. And it's because this is a really old tale.
Yeah.
So, what's a good weapon to talk about, actually? Since we're slowly going to a close. What's a good weapon to end off?
We think. We've already talked about the flail.
How about shields? We haven't talked about shields.
Yeah, I guess we haven't.
For instance, every shield at that time were different. For instance, like the Mongolian shield was more made of wood and metal, while as to the shield of Europe, most shields in Europe were made entirely of metal, and same thing with Spartans had golden shields, actual gold as shields.
Yeah.
So everywhere was a different standpoint of shield. There was even shields that were bladed to stab somebody while also protect themselves.
Yeah.
So, what's a really great shield to have? What's, like, in your eyes, what is considered the best shield?
1 second. Reconnecting my headphones. They got disconnected quick.
Ah, that's okay.
My favorite shield is the kite shield.
Ah, the kite shield. For me, it would be the tower shield or the blade shield.
These are good ones.
Yeah, the blade shield essentially was it was a great shield. It was a good shield. It was just essentially a rounded shield, a standard round shield. But on the edge of all over the shield was essentially a sharpened blade that was used to dent and to cut anyone. It was made to cut and chop anyone outside of armor and dent anyone inside of it, while also having a standpoint of protection. Whereas the tower shield was essentially used to protect castles. And it was a shield that was wielded by spearmen, essentially, and to stab and protect the entire body while standing. And those things essentially are about as tall as doors. So imagine you trying to hold a door in front of you. That's going to be hard.
Well, nobody's gonna hit you.
Yeah, nobody's going to hit you. I'll tell you one thing, though. It's going to be hard to move.
Oh. 1 second.
Was that a call or a text?
Yeah, 1 second.
Well, I guess that's gonna where we're gonna leave off. Thank you all so much for watching and coming onto the stream. Sorry about that disconnection earlier. At least it reconnected. Thank you all so much for spending time with us talking about weapons and stuff. I'm sorry there was not much gameplay. It was just me dicking around, and that's what you saw was a pre-recorded thing a little bit. Thank you all so much for coming here to witness us talk a lot. This has been about 2 hours and 30 minutes, which is a lot more than I usually do, which is not bad, considering I went and played a game with a friend of mine for 4 hours straight. So, yeah.
Hey, when you're passionate, time flies.
Yeah. So, yeah. And thank you all so much. I've been Alan, your favorite Draconicus. He has been Silver Lyrics, your favorite unicorn. And we're going to see you all some other time.